Now, I picked up a new book recently. Well, it's not a new book. It was published in 1991, so it's over 30 years old. It was by Anthony Rout. It's called Flies for Alaska. And you can find used copies of it out there for a couple of dollars. Now, I'm not necessarily recommending you do that, but it is a decent book. It's got a couple dozen patterns in it, a few color plates, but all the flies in it I'd seen in other books, except one. Rout has one in here that he calls the bottle brush. Now, I had thought I'd heard of this thing, but I couldn't find it in any of my books, so maybe I hadn't, maybe I'm just dreaming. Regardless, it is a pretty cool pattern with one unique trait. He palmers a hackle up through the front of the fly made out of silver pheasant. Now, silver pheasant isn't really a unique material. You'll see it tied as cheeks on a lot of salmon flies, but it can be a bit pricey. This pack right here is $5 or $10 for a dozen or so feathers, and a full skin is going to cost you probably somewhere over $100. Now, if you don't have silver pheasant, I think you could tie this same pattern or something very similar to it just using a grizzly hen or any color hen and just be a variation. Now, Rout did tie this thing as a steelhead fly, but there's nothing keeping us from tying this as a bass fly or even putting it on a streamer hook and go chase some big wild browns. And I do like this style of fly. It's simple, easy to tie, and you know this thing's going to have a lot of movement in the water. So there it is in the vise, a fly pattern called the bottle brush from Anthony Rout's 1991 Flies for Alaska. So it's a 35-year-old book, and I haven't seen this pattern in any other of my books. This is a size 4 standard salmon steelhead hook. It's got that fold over eye right there, and I am going to weight this. Normally I'm using a 0.15 weight. I'm going to use an 0.25 for this one. He does call for weight. He doesn't say what size, but I think as big as this is, 0.25 is probably the right diameter weight. Let's see, that's about 8 or 9 wraps. That should be fine. And I'm going with a white thread. Now this is a 70 denier. I didn't have this white at a 140. Would probably be a better call to use 140. So put a dam behind it, and then in front of it, maybe you can build a little ramp up right here. And then we'll take our thread to the start of the bend. And the tail, just some pink hackle fibers. This is from a cheap strung saddle hackle. I got a good dozen or more right here. Let's spin them, break them up a little bit, and about as long as you want. It doesn't have to be huge. Let's go about right there. Now here is where you have an option. A lot of people like their steelhead salmon flies with the tail propped up, and if you do, just put a wrap right up under there and kind of prop it up a little bit. I think that's totally personal preference. I don't necessarily do that, so we'll just take our thread right up here behind the weight, and we'll catch in some pink chenille for the body. Now this is a small. The one you saw in the vise at the beginning was also a small. I think you could get away with a medium, but I didn't want the body to get too big on me. So we'll catch it in up there, bring it back to where we're going to start wrapping it. Now take your thread up, pay attention to this. You're going to want it about 1/3 of the way back from what the total body is going to be, because we're going to palmer the hackle up in the front third. So I'll show you what I'm talking about here in a second, but go ahead and wrap this up to your thread. Okay, now catch it off, but don't snip this just yet. So 2 or 3 wraps should be fine. And if you got a magnet, go ahead and park it. If not, it's just gonna, you'll just have to contend with it possibly getting in your way. Now here's where this pattern is unique. Silver pheasant feather. Now usually you see these, just the tips of them, used on cheeks. That's why this pack right here says silver pheasant cheeks. And this pattern is kind of unique, as we're going to use them for a collar hackle. So see this feather, it's got that natural curve to it. Try to get that curve laying back. And I'm going to catch it in from the fat side. Just right there in front of that last pink wrap. Okay, I think we're good. Now just leave the stem in here and we'll take our thread. I should have snipped it to make it a little easier to work with, but we're okay. Now snip the excess up front, and you see I got that stem caught in pretty much all the way up. And now we'll finish wrapping this body up here to where our thread is, to where we really want to start our head. Okay, I think that'll be fine right here. And now we're going to just wrap this like a collar hackle, but we're going to palmer it at first. So maybe try and preen these back. It's going to put some really long fibers down, but you know, that's kind of the intent of this fly. Almost as long as, like, say, a carry special or something like that. So just try not to let them get matted up as we palmer this thing up to the front. And I don't have a whole lot of feather to work with. So I'm trying to grab just the tip and let these kind of go back on me. Okay, can I get one more wrap? Not real easily, but I'm gonna try. Okay, that is a big mess right now, but we'll clean it up. It'll look a little better in just a second. Okay, so we've got a couple wraps right there. Let's snip the excess up front off. And before we really wrap it down and lock it in, just, you know, take a look at these and make sure you don't have any trapped how you don't want them. And I think we're fine. Now we can just build our big head. And this is where having a 140 denier thread would have been a little better. Would make this a lot quicker, but I'll speed this up. Just build it as big as you want. Okay, I think that's big enough. Let's go ahead and finish it and then take a look, see if we can do any cleanup. Now, I think these fibers right here were a little bit longer than the one I had in the vise at the beginning. I kind of like the shorter ones a little bit better, but this thing is still going to fish. It's a big, monster, meaty looking fly, and I think that is generally the intent of it. So there you go, a pretty unique pattern called the bottle brush. Now I appreciate you watching. Y'all take care, and we'll see you next time.